Talk 360. Talk 360 for in-depth analysis on the week's news with Latif.
I think, for me, as far as I'm concerned, I would like to see elective office because we have acted as if elective office is special. And I would like to see elective office treated with the same stringency that we are demanding of the rest. I'm not saying lower the standards for anybody. I am saying treat everybody at the same level. So I'm not saying let the DCJ come back. I don't have a problem with that.
The issue
but I would like to see the same level.
The problem would be, Atsango, is
it's
the people who elect these officers.
And this is precisely why I was saying it's not just about the parliamentarians.
Absolutely.
I've been very consistent about this. The Kenyan people need to start moving away from this double standard. Last January, there was massive outrage at the DCJ. And I don't think there was anything wrong with that. I would just like to see the same kind of outrage when you see similarly absurd conduct being engaged in by anyone who holds any other type of office.
It has actually happened. I'm sure it has happened. And Ekwe, Ethuro, you faced that even before you landed in court over this last incident. You faced a lot of outrage.
I did.
Over the statements, the remarks that you made.
They condemned me before they had me.
I'm sure Ferdinand Ethuro would say the same thing. But the problem is...
No. They said between Ekwe, Ethuro and Ferdinand.
Those two incidents.
Yeah, it's okay.
They're different. I did not throw stones.
You are members of
Parliament. Parliament. I spoke.
What I am saying is...
the opinions I had on particular
issues.
My
point is, when there are issues where members of Parliament have acted in a manner where the public has felt that is not right, they have vented. However, it ends there. And the same members of Parliament are elected by the same populace or getting support from the same populace. And I think also the members of Parliament should get to a point then, that's what Atsango is saying, where they also take responsibility. If you have done something and and you get to a point where you realize, oh, I slipped, you come up and say, I made a mistake. And my mistake, I realize that this is not what you expected of me. Therefore, either step aside or ask for forgiveness and the public forgives you. Something like that. But what we keep seeing from leaders is you just act like nothing happened.
That's not entirely true. We have had motions of no confidence in ministers and they have stepped aside. Your issue should be now the appointing authority always has a way of bringing them back after that same public mood has dissipated.
Indeed. Robert Elai says on Twitter, the way the bills were ventilated raises questions on their quality and become wanting, if you ask me. Some of the bills that you passed in the 10th Parliament, there's been that feeling that, some of them, they were debated and passed so fast that you get a feeling that the entire 222 MPs did not understand the import of this bill.
Actually, I think they're the ones who don't understand the import of the bills.
Who? The public?
No, whoever has,
Robert Elai is
one opinion doesn't represent the entire public. It's just an opinion of an individual. Parliament works through committees, and every bill on the first reading, according to Standing Order 110, is subjected without question put to the relevant committee of the House. So already, by the time you come second reading after 10 days, then the committee of the Parliament would have tabled its report. And so every other member who may not even be familiar with issues at least can go and get the copy of the report so that can inform the debate. So sometimes when you see us reducing the time because of the time constraints, as there was a question you asked at Atsango which has not responded to the kind of timeline they gave us in the Constitution. It was madness. I remember the first meeting, I'm on the committee of CIOC, and I said to my chairman, we must review this. We cannot work this way. But that time, so, no, don't touch. You'll have mutilated the Constitution. We're all put under pressure. And so...
There was too much to do in a little time.
Yeah, and rightly so. There was so much to do because we came from a background where, constitutions had been mutilated. We feared
touching this,
even when it is reasonable. So, but I'll accept that there are certain bills where we have been able to reduce the publication period, the referral period. I am on record in Parliament that the rate at which the governments will be producing those procedural bills, they will reduce everything to the extent that the bill will have zero content.
Actually, on this one, Eric, I would like to defend the 10th Parliament to some extent. I don't think the problem lies solely with the 10th Parliament. I think also the executive needs to account in terms of its own pace at which it works. Because if you follow the proper, and the CIOC on at least 2 occasions actually instructed the executive to follow the proper procedure.
Yep.
So there has been some mischief, with all due respect, at the level of the executive on this particular issue.
In the generation
and I
of the
say this
bills.
in the sense that we have an executive that was also used to a situation whereby they just thought up a bill by themselves and then brought it. And because they held a majority, because we came from a parliamentary system, remember we've moved from a parliamentary system. Actually, we've moved from something that was a bit of a mongrel, frankly. It wasn't, but that was rooted originally in a parliamentary system to a presidential system. Now, in that system, if you're from a party that controls the House, you can pretty much rely on knowing that if you brought the bill
At 2 p.m. it will pass at 2.
it will pass, yeah. And so there's a bit of an arrogance that comes along with that, with all due respect to them, that I think they have continued exercising, whereby the Attorney General, with all due respect to him, did not necessarily always respect the process. And this happened with both office holders that we've experienced under the new constitution. Now we have a process whereby they have to go through the CIC. When it's at the the CIC has to consult with the Law Reform Commission, has to consult with the AG, and after that, then it comes to Parliament. And remember, under the new constitution, there's meant to be room for the public to also participate.
Yes.
So these processes are time consuming. So if you don't start things in time, and if any one of those institutions takes its own sweet time doing what it's supposed to be doing,
Then it
you
lands
end up
on
with a
Ekwe's-
mess.
It lands on Ekwe's table at the last minute.
Yeah.
And he has no more time.
It's it's not entirely.
And he's the only one
on that
who's
one.
at risk of going home.
And I cannot I cannot agree more with that. Atsango, we have had actually occasions as CIOC to threaten government. First is we try to give them, by the way, the benefit of doubt. We call all of them. We say, are you aware these things are supposed to come to the House? And then they're looking at us as if...
Until it dawned on you that they knew what they were doing.
In fact, actually, I think we are being charitable to them. I don't think they knew what they were doing in most cases. They don't even read the Constitution. They will come very late in the day. I mean, I'll tell you, there was a matter which I raised before the Minister for Finance then, and the entire team was just in total disbelief. They never imagined that those provisions were there in the Constitution for them to implement. And I can assure you, if I did not deal with the issue at the committee stage, I would really have...
You'd have had issues on the floor. Then.
On the floor in a very bad way, until I just realized they were done. I mean, they were out of depth.